Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Norton Planning Board meeting, July 28th. Just like the last meeting, I'm not going to read through the whole governor's orders, but pursuant to the March 12th and March 15th orders on open meetings, we're participating via Zoom and phone. So you can join online by video by clicking the link on the Norton Planning Board website. That's www.nortonma.org. Or you can join on the Zoom app with meeting ID 638-929-1060. Or if you're just going to call in, you can call 646-558-8656 and enter meeting ID 638-929-1060. And sometimes it takes a few tries to connect, so don't be discouraged. And for those of you that are on now, if everybody could just mute their microphones until it's time to speak, you can eliminate the background noise. Thank you very much. All right. So we don't have Kevin on, but we still have 6 of us. So the first order of the business we should have done a couple meetings back is the annual election for the chair, vice chair, and clerk. So we can start with that. Of course, I'm willing to continue on. Anyone else is interested? Or are there nominations?
This is Joe. I nominate Kitty Hornsby as chairman.
Joe? If I want to give you another chance. If there's other nominations, I think everybody's muted, so make sure you unmute.
I'd like to nominate Tim.
Thank you, Aaron. I'll accept the nomination.
I don't recall. Do we need seconds on these? Or just, we don't need seconds, do we?
Not for nomination.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, how did we do this last time? It's been so long. Do we do it one by one, or do you just want to go down the line and say who you vote for?
Can you make a statement? There's something to say.
Warren, you're breaking up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I just make a statement?
Sure.
One of the reasons I'd like to see somebody else, over the last 3 times we had town meetings, this is nobody's fault. I think we presented a really bad image of the planning board. And Steve, this is not against you or anything else. And I just think
I've only been chair too. But
I know, but it's not been great, and I think it may be appropriate for us to put a different face to the public on the planning board. For whatever reason, I think the image has not been great in terms of our experiences at the planning board. And that's not to put blame on anybody, but that's a reality. And I just think it might be appropriate into the board's best interest to put a different face on the planning board as chair. That's why I nominated him. And he did a good job.
okay. Anyone else? So I'll just go down the line. Warren?
Tim?
Scott?
Good.
Julie?
I'll vote for Steve.
Tim?
I will vote for myself.
Joe?
Yes.
And I will vote for myself. So at this point, we're 3-3. So I guess we did need Kevin after all. So if we're okay to table this one until we get Kevin, or if anyone would like to change their vote. Okay, so I think we need to table this until our next meeting. So I think it'd probably be good if we had a motion to do that.
So this is Scott. I'll move to defer the vote for new chairman of the planning board in Norton till the next meeting.
Just not to interrupt, but would it make sense to defer all of it so that way we can get it all done at once?
Yeah, I think so.
I will modify my motion to defer all position voting till the next meeting. Thank you, Steve.
Second?
Second, or,
Okay, Orin?
I second, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, going down the line now here.
Yes.
Orin, Scott,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Tim,
Yeah.
Joe,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. All right, so we'll make sure, Paul, that that's on the next agenda, okay? All right. Next up, we have the warrant and timesheet approval. Did you all get a chance to look at the letter that was in there? Paul, you're muted if you want to talk. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, this is a letter that you typically sign every year to authorize the town manager to sign essentially my timesheet on behalf of the board. But additionally, we wanted to bring a couple things up to you that a number of boards have been doing. As you know, that you always vote at meetings for bills. And what this is doing is giving you an opportunity to appoint a primary person and an alternate to sign bills such as, the office bills and whatnot, on behalf of the board. And then afterwards you can report, at the next available meeting, what bills were approved. In addition, that would also, the two people who would be selected will also be responsible for signing our department payroll, which is a new twist to it. But talking with the town manager's office, this is an area now that we have. This is a requirement that boards have to sign payroll and can't be delegated.
Okay, so is this usually?
Paul, to be clear, it's an option for those members to sign bills, not a requirement.
This is an option for the board. But payroll does have to be signed. But for the bills, this is an option. You don't have to do it. It just makes lives a little bit easier, I think, certainly for staff. We've had a couple of bills that came in right at the end of the fiscal year, in between your last meeting of the fiscal year and the new fiscal year, and then that has to get encumbered, and that creates problems. If we were able to act more efficiently, we could get those signed, could have gotten those signed before the end of the fiscal year.
My
That's
first question was to see if it was, if we put a limit on it, up to a certain amount, because a lot of these bills, like one tonight was Verizon for $50, that are reoccurring bills. So I don't know if that's an option.
I think you certainly can bring it up, and then I'll bring it back if that's the direction you want to take. Certainly.
How soon do you need this? Should we do it tonight, or are you okay to wait till after we do the officer meeting?
I got the impression that they were hoping for a signature or decision on it.
Okay.
I'm just curious, how would we write approved payroll checks? Is someone giving us from the manager's office the amounts that are due, or what your contracts are?
Right. So the payroll has all of that information on it every 2 weeks. So it has salary. It's primarily salary. So.
Doesn't the town manager have to sign off on that information, not us?
He signs off on it first, and then I don't know. Joe could probably speak to this from before, but I believe that we're supposed to authorize it, and that's a state law.
That's a state law. That's a state law. Any board in Massachusetts has to sign payroll for the staff or at least the department head. I can sign Nicole's, I'm authorized, but or sorry, getting that backwards. But for payroll, any board is supposed to sign off for their department's payroll.
I'll volunteer to do it only because, I mean, whether or not, however it goes next week, but I sign payroll for my company all the time, so I'm always right near the town hall, so it makes it a little easier. Unless anyone else would like to volunteer.
This is Joe. I think a couple things. I've seen in the past where the department head signs off on staff payroll, the town manager signs off on the department head, and then whoever is designated, and I would suggest when we finally get to an elected chairman, that the chairman be authorized to sign for a bill schedule. Subject to those bills being presented to the planning board at its next meeting for review, but not for approval because that's already been done.
So, can we put in
I
the
can wait for you to
Sorry, Steve, could you repeat that?
Does it have to be a specific name, or can we put chairperson?
I think we're looking for specific names. We're looking for specific names.
And we can always change it at the next meeting if we have to.
Yeah, you could.
So what's everybody else?
I think it makes sense for him to be the chair. So this is Tim, by the way. So do we need a motion to that effect?
Yeah, we do.
I would move that we allow the chair, in this case Steve, to, as Joe said, sign off on bills under the conditions they're presented to the board for review at the next meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Joe, I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that or questions? Okay, Oren.
Chair?
Yep.
Is it possible to get an alternate, or do you want to hold off on?
I'm sorry. Yeah, would anyone else like to volunteer to be an alternate on it? Actually, you know what would work? If I don't want to push you into it, but Tim, if you want to volunteer to be the alternate, then depending on what happens next
Sure.
meeting, we might have.
Do we authorize, instead of alternate, can we authorize either? Right, an alternate.
Yeah, I think we agree either, because only one person would be there. Yeah, I would consider that a friendly addition to the motion.
Joe, are you still okay with your second on that then?
I'm sorry, did I hear my name mentioned?
Yeah, we're going to add to the motion, or Tim's adding to the motion that he would be the alternate to sign.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do the roll call. Oren,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Julie, we'll come back. Tim,
Yeah,
Joe,
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and Julie, did you vote yes? You're on mute. Is that a yes? Did anybody hear that?
I did not hear anything.
Julie, one more time, are you okay with that?
Sorry, guys, I keep getting booted. Yeah, I'm fine. Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, we have two invoices. Did everybody mute? We got a lot of feedback going on here. Okay, we have two invoices. One from Serped. Paul, do you want to explain the Serped one for 179011?
Yeah, this is for work that Serpent is doing as our contractor for the master plan, and this is work they're doing through June 30th in anticipation of the next public event, which will be a virtual event. So this is for the work they're doing in preparation for open space and recreation and natural and cultural resource elements. Should just point out that this grant, the master plan is actually being funded by two separate grants, the Community Compact, and then which is administered through the state, and then the Direct Local Technical Assistance Grant, which is Serpent. This one is being funded through the Community Compact grant. There's more of a time issue there getting the money spent. It was $30,000 that we had received from them, so we still have a balance, but that's the nature of this invoice.
And the other one is Verizon.
Yeah, and this is for my work cell phone, which again I ended up getting as out of necessity after we went into lockdown mode and didn't have working from home. I didn't have a cell phone, so it's made being able to contact people possible.
What was the total of that? The exact total? I didn't have it up there.
It is $51.49.
Anyone with questions on these? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
This is Orin, second.
And again, that's for the Serped for 179011 and Verizon for 5149. Okay, Orin.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right. The last but not least, here we have the minutes from July 14th. Something I noticed right in the beginning is I didn't read the entire order, Governor Baker's orders, at the last meeting, so I don't know if that was changed or if it's okay as is, but.
Well, you identified it.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we just got this in. I have not had a chance to review it. Can we put these minutes off to the next meeting?
I'm fine with that. Is everybody okay with that?
I would agree.
So we'll look at those at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have an A&R endorsement. It's 133 Mansfield Ave. John and Sean Rivera. Do we have the applicants on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, who do we have on as the applicant? I'm sorry.
This is Dylan Ribeiro.
All right, Dylan, you can go ahead and present.
percent A&R?
Yeah, do you want to just explain it?
Yes, I have an existing lot, just break it up into two. No plans on it yet, just looking to subdivide it.
So just straightforward. Any questions from the board on this?
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, on.
No, go ahead. Is there someone else who wants to speak?
No, go ahead.
I had a question. Lot 2, you just have but I don't see where it shows the plan. Know the actual dimensions of the frontage. I have this area, but I can't track where the dimension is. And the other thing is, do we know what zone is this in, Paul? Do you know zone?
I really get a question for a frontage question.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit there.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so I would, on lot 1, there's 150 frontage,
Okay, you have, so I see that's.
and total frontage on lot 2 is 150, 135.
Okay, you just, where's the dimension shown on it, other than just having a note that that's what it is? I see a 131.35, then where's the balance of it? Where is that running from where to where?
Well, if you go, is it west? Yeah. It's hard to explain without pointing at it, but I'm looking at total frontage 151, and it goes right. Like I said, I'd have to point to show you. It's very tough to explain, but I can see it.
Paul, let's get a screen for this, to pull up the map.
I don't know how to share screen. Let me try.
If you look at Bird Avenue,
Yeah.
it's just above that, right? Avenue, total frontage, A equals 151.35.
Okay. Then you pick up another 20 feet in that triangle, is that what you're doing?
Yes, because that's a driveway easement. For lot 1, the frontage is included in lot 2, which makes it 151.35.
Okay. Now, you have some existing buildings on lot 1. Is there?
Yeah, there's buildings on lot 1 and lot 2.
Question I have, Paul, maybe you can answer that, is you have, I think one of those buildings looks like it's relatively close to the new lot line. Can we approve?
Yeah, so this is Village Commercial, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it commercial?
Yeah, so I believe the side setback is 10 feet.
It's village commercial.
Drawing looks like it's showing, is that 14 or is it? It's 14, I think, or, right? Are you looking at the EX shed?
It's,
If anyone wants, I can try to share my screen. I might have to ask permission, but I do have the plans pulled up. Steve or Lauren.
Yeah, I
Try.
think we'll in.
Okay, I'll try.
I don't know what it is. It says X office, and I see a distance of 11 feet.
Did that work, Steve?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Lauren, the side yard setbacks for principal and
That's right.
accessory
Same thing.
10 feet.
Okay. It's in village commercial, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else with questions on this?
Peter Williams. I would move to endorse. Go ahead, Peter.
I live not too far from there, and I go by there all the time. Huh?
All right, so Tim, you were going to make
This is Ken. I would move that we endorse the A&R as submitted.
This is Scott. I will second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Orin.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Joe. And I'll vote yes. A&R is endorsed. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, Nicole, you can take it off the screen there.
Do we need to reapprove authority for signatures on that?
No.
Correct, because Steve was specifically mentioned by name.
Awesome.
And next up, we have the public hearing for the 186 South Washington Street. The site plan application.
Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the planning board, Paul and others. My name is Scott LeMay. I'm the CEO of United Material Management. Thank you for the opportunity to be back this evening. As I mentioned last week, we feel well rooted in Norton and happy to be here. We have thousands of customers, residential and commercial, and we also employ people in Norton. I don't know if Laura, can you share the screen?
Yeah, I'm going to share screen if I can.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you.
I also have with me here today Laura and Anthony Spitaleri and also Dave Wilson, who lives down the street. Oh, and Courtney. Sorry, Courtney.
We're waiting for a screen, correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the file's not showing up at the...
That's fine. I'm just making sure I'm not going crazy.
Yep. Okay, let me try this again. Sorry about that. Thank you. Can everyone
Yeah, we can see it now. It's on there.
see it? Great.
So what we're showing here is the view of the new building from the street, and we made some efforts to. This is a fairly narrow lot, so what the view from the street is a new building with landscaping and screening and a driveway. We did this intentionally so that the doorways that are behind the building, the activity that we would have on the property would be, as I said, well screened from the front of the building, and then we'd see the three doors in the rear of the building where the activity would be towards the rear of the lot. If we look at the surrounding area, As you can see, the lot that is in discussion is 186 in the yellow. We're surrounded by, I think, over 1 million square feet of major industrial uses. Some of them is, directly across the street is 500,000 square feet. As we had said last week, we're proposing a 4,900 square foot building. We feel that we fit in nicely with the area in this industrial zone. There's certainly businesses that are, 50 to 100 times the size in terms of their land mass and buildings and employees. It seems like an area that is, suited with the size buildings that, it could be a FedEx terminal or, something that has thousands of vehicle trips. We have a very insignificant amount of vehicle trips with, roughly 30 to 40 trucks that leave in the morning and then return in the evening. You can see in the next slide that the lot that is in discussion, we just have it blocked out in blue. Directly to the north of us is a shoring company that also has, it's a compressed gas terminal, and they have miscellaneous equipment stored. And then immediately to the south of us, we have a landscape company, and I think they have a pretty direct view of the properties, as I think, as opposed to what we're proposing is screening in the front, a new building with the activity happening in the rear. And I think we also have, so we think we fit in, nicely here, and what around us is some very substantial industry and businesses. In the next view,
This is just the site plan, Scott?
so Laura can help me here too, but in terms of mitigation measures, I think we explained that we intentionally positioned the building so that we would have good screening and landscaping from the front of the building when we see it from the street, the activity happening in the rear. We wanted to put in a self-imposed restriction that if we're not servicing customers in Norton, we would go left, so that we would have unimpeded access to the highway without going past residents and what is a major industrial zone headed towards where we exit onto Miles Standish. Laura can talk a little bit about what we did for lighting to be adjustable, so that we don't come off of the property with lighting. And another mitigation measure that we propose is the parking in the rear of the building. We propose that we would back in at the end of the day, and the reason for that is any early morning trips leaving, that there wouldn't be backup alarms. I'd point out that when we enter out onto South Washington, the trucks, they typically start off in a low gear at a low RPM, and there's a considerable distance until they're headed out towards the highway. So we feel that we have a pretty innocuous use in comparison to the industries that are around us and the size of them, and with a relatively small footprint building and low traffic trips comparable to what's around us.
Yeah, so, from our last meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the consideration of abutters. So as Scott just went through, we really designed this site out of the gate to have built-in mitigation measures for the abutters. Like you said, the placement of the building centered on this narrow lot provides as much screening to the operations in the back as possible. Additionally, the location of the access doors being in the back of the site helps with aesthetics from the street instead of putting them at the front of the building right on the street. Also, by having the building front, closer to the street and having the storage behind, again, it mitigates for visual impacts, and so we don't have all that storage at the street for everyone to see. Also, the lights that we have proposed on the sides of the building, they are fully adjustable, so we can adjust them such that the angle of lighting is limited to where we need it and within the property line. As well, Scott touched on, we've self-imposed our own truck restrictions such that, most of the trucks going to the highway will turn left out of this property and go right to the highway. They won't pass any residential properties doing that. Only trucks that are going out to service Norton in that direction will be allowed to go right out of the property through the more residential area further to the west. Also, as Scott touched on, we have thought of other mitigation measures, for noise impacts, and we're more than willing to implement a policy such that trucks come back in the afternoon, they back into their parking spaces to reduce the potential for the backup alarms early in the morning. So, at the last meeting, I know we continued, there was discussion about meeting Jennifer Carlino's final sign-off on her comments to the stormwater system and design. We did, both Paul and I received that confirmation from Jennifer that she had no further comments, and we addressed all her comments on the stormwater design as well as the stormwater pollution prevention plan that we provided. So just to summarize, we're in an industrial area. Our direct abutters are other industrial users. We have complied with the town's stormwater bylaw as well as the state stormwater standards. We are requesting, I believe, 2 waivers. One is from the 50-foot driveway width requirement. We discussed this at the last meeting. We have 30 feet. We feel that is more than adequate for the uses and function of this property for us. And the other waiver, I believe, is for the plan scale. I believe you guys require 1 inch equals 20, and we provided 1 inch equals 40 scale plans. So again, we appreciate the board's time and consideration of this project, and we're happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay, I know we all received the email. Jennifer did agree there was no further comments. Any further questions from the board here?
I have a question. You submitted a revised plan. Could you just outline? Sorry?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Scott, did you call Scott? Does Scott want to say something?
No, I don't think anybody said anything.
Okay. Could you just outline what changes you made to those? You had revised plans. What changes you made to those plans?
Yeah, so the major changes we made were in response to the third-party stormwater reviewers' comments, and that included replacing the grass filter strip in the back stormwater basin with instead a lined rain garden to increase our TSS removal and pretreatment requirements. We also added in deep sump catch basins at the front of the site. Again, same reason, to increase TSS pretreatment for stormwater flowing to the rain garden. We added some notes from the fire department. The fire department's comments consisted of adding a Knox box at the front gate and including a smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector in the office. So we updated some of the notes for that. And then there are some minor changes in the details just based upon the stormwater design updates.
One of the plans you have lists of an area that you designated as stockpile areas. Could you just tell us what that's for and what that represents?
Yeah, I believe that is on sheet C1, which is our erosion control and site preparation plan. So as they are either demolishing the existing building or they're excavating for the new septic system or the tight tank for the floor drains, that will be an area designated for soil stockpiles from excavation, or it could be for materials being delivered to the site.
Like during construction or throughout, or just?
Just during construction. Yeah, that's construction only.
We saw that the front of the building, do you plan on having any signs in the front of the building?
We haven't talked about that. Scott, do you plan on having any signs in the front, maybe on the building specifically?
I don't think we finalized the plan. I think at some point we would like a sign, but my understanding was that would be a subsequent permit, but I'm not sure. Maybe I can get some help or direction there.
I'm assuming you're not planning. I know that the rear is designated for vehicles that you're going to be working on. I'm assuming there's no junked vehicles, those being unregistered or unserviceable, wrecked or partially dismantled cars.
Warren, is it possible to have an unregistered truck while we're registering one, or while we just acquired one? But this is not a stockpile or a junkyard. It's actually a pretty neat, organized building and property. I think one of the things that happens in our industry is there's kind of like a stigma, but we're a clean operation. You're going to have somebody, one of our employees that lives down the street, that if you ask for comment, our trucks. I know there was some discussion about the oil and what we have in our trucks, and what we have in our engines is no different than all the other engines that are in the industrial park. It's a clean, orderly operation. But the direct answer to your question is, could we have a truck while we're in the middle of registering something? Or that's possible, but that would be a rare occasion, not the norm.
Are you doing any striping or laying out the back part of the parcel for where these trucks are going to be?
We probably won't. We're under the parking limits thresholds to having to stripe for the employee parking. So we're unlikely to stripe in the back. They need to be able to move around and, figure out the best locations for the trucks and the equipment that they would have on site at any given day.
One of my concerns is clear, almost defoliating the entire parcel. With a gravel surface, and you're putting a bunch of vehicles on it, all that need to be repaired or stored. And I'm just concerned about how that shapes up. And also, going back to, you only have like a 5 foot parameter that you're just retaining. I mean, the picture that you show of the parking lot clearly is more than 5 feet there. And one of the objectives that the site plan objectives is under the natural environment, minimize tree removal, and also the landscaping is relative to exposed areas for parking, loading, and storage shall be screened from adjoining properties. Now, I realize the adjoining properties are industrial, but it is a parking lot, and you're basically defoliating that whole back area with gravel, and you're putting on that by your own admissions are in need of repair. Is there talk about for expanding? It's 150 feet distance in the lot, but I'm not sure. I'm getting the internet stable. Did everybody hear me?
You broke up for a second, but I heard the rest of it.
Yeah, no problem.
So I don't know how you would lay out what you talked about 15 to 20 trucks that you use on a daily basis. And then I think the last time you mentioned maybe a total of 45 trucks, 20 to 45 trucks for storing. I don't know how they would stack up in terms of what space you would need, and if you have a sense of what that layout would be for that kind of storage in terms of substantiating the need for the minimum amount of side foliage. I guess is the question I have.
Yeah, so we looked at the perimeters, and I think with the front yard, we are limited with the driveway. We're keeping 5 feet. It might be closer to 7 or 8 feet along that eastern property line along the driveway. We couldn't bump that all up at all because we are constrained with what we need for the driveway and the building. On the west side, and actually, it looks like I'm still screen sharing here. So where we show gray, we're limited really to the 5-foot buffer zone along the perimeter. Where we show purple, which is our gravel areas, we likely can increase that to 10 feet. Off the back to the north on that slope, that's all going to be maintained a natural vegetation.
And the green is the retention? Is that
the green, yep, is our stormwater BMPs. Yeah.
Laura, could you bring up the drawing that shows the two uses next to us?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we talked about and considered was, because we know that the shoring company that's that I guess is to the north of us, and then the landscape company that is using the majority, they have more frontage that they're using. Is we thought that at some point in time they were more likely to develop the properties with functional buildings and that type of thing over time. And we felt like it would make some sense for us to have the latitude to coordinate with them at some point as they, continue to, to use the, develop what would be more of a plan there, because I don't think they have much paved, well, I don't think they have any paved surfaces or necessarily, industrial buildings. It's converted homes that were into offices and then storage in general. So what we were hoping to do is be able to coordinate with them over time. Knowing that we're going to have very narrow side yard buffers. And we were also very focused on the front. And, as Laura said, the 7 feet between the driveway and then the front landscaping, thinking that would be, then we have an 83-foot long building that's set back 40 feet, so that the most important aesthetics and landscaping and buffers to us, we really did focus, in the first half of the lot, the initial 120 feet or so, which would be the parts that would be more recognized.
In the picture you're showing, do you have any idea what those things are that they look like pink? I don't know, are they trucks? Are they, any idea what that is?
It's a combination of trucks, containers, and it's a shoring company. So I think they have,
and boxes,
metal that they would put in while they're, excavating and that type of thing. And then in the middle of that lot is a compressed gas. It's basically a terminal. They go in and out, and that's used for compressed gas. And Paul might have more of a better description of that, but that to our knowledge, that's what's there now.
Do you have any idea what I see this vegetation abutting your property. Any idea how deep that is along your I'm not sure, what's it, the western side or your back side? Yeah.
Yeah, this is to the west. In the front, it's about, I was just out there today. It was about maybe 10 feet wide, and it varied based upon the gravel that they had spread out. it does get a little wider towards the back. In this area here, along the east side, along the driveway side, there was probably about 20 feet. 5 to 10 on our property line, and another 10 plus feet on their property.
The property to the west of those, is that a gravel parking lot as well?
It is. Yep. There's an existing, what used to be a residential house exists in this front corner that I think they're using for offices. So that still exists, but this is all gravel and all gravel in the back.
I'm assuming the letter of July 23rd lists a bunch of conditions that I believe the applicant is willing to accept. I'm assuming those are acceptable to the applicant, the conditions that you set out in the letter of July 23rd.
From conservation from Jennifer, right?
No, that's from Green.
When we talk about the further reduction of potential noise about the truck drivers backing in to our spots in the afternoon, absolutely.
Maintenance and repair would be within the buildings.
Yep.
And the turning where you're going to be turning left and turning left. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And then you did say that there's going to be no gasoline. You have all petroleum products on site will be stored inside and maintain the proper containments. But there will be no gasoline. You're not going to do any pumping of gasoline at this location.
No, it is not included in this proposal.
Not on the plan, but we would like to have that as an option. We run trucks there. We'd have to have the appropriate, double and triple line, containment. And I think that our neighbor also, is a press gas terminal, but we would like to leave that as an option.
That's not part of the site plan now.
It's not part of our plans now, but we would, if we need to, come back for an amendment in the future.
Yeah, you'd have to come back for that.
Yep.
Lauren, I have something if you're...
Sure. Yes, I am. Thank you.
This is Tim. I know this is addressed, Laura, in the letter that Laura mentioned on the 23rd. But could you just kind of restate kind of the logic that you use there in regards to smell and how that is modeled? So it's something we touched on at the last meeting. I just want to, for any members of the public who haven't read the letter, to kind of understand that.
Sure. So in the letter, I discussed, how my company and how I design and permit really large-scale facilities that handles waste, landfills, transfer stations, and we do air dispersion modeling for those large facilities, and it's, we model that based upon two things. One is the concentration, and the other is emission. So if you have, a truck, whether it's empty, there's residual, there's some, it's full, you may or may not have a concentration, but it's also a factor of emission. So if you have a closed truck, it's closed, there's no emission. So in terms of modeling, for this site and what we have, there's no concerns for odor issues because we don't have a great concentration and there's no emissions because we have closed containers, closed trucks.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of walk through that kind of in the meeting itself.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I mean, Tim, if it helps at all, we also, just to give you some background, we have 3 facilities. There's one in the Miles Standish Park that we, it has a permit for literally 2,000 tons, and at times, there's waste stored. There's never been one odor complaint, and we have residents, as close as, 5 to 400 feet, and, that's like with a lot of waste in a building, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that none of that is proposed here. All this is a maintenance building where we park trucks, and any amounts that we would have is, the idea is we go up and make pickups and we dump, and sometimes there may be some residual amount, but as Laura said, it's in an enclosed truck, and we don't have odor problems and know how to manage that even when in large scale operations, let alone something, as insignificant in scale as this.
Orin, were you finished? Did you have more?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Anyone else with questions from the board here? Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Were you done as well?
No, that was the main thing. I just wanted to kind of walk through because I spent a lot of time on it 2 weeks ago. I figured I may as well close it up.
Okay. Anyone else from the board with questions? Okay. How about, can I open up to the public now if anyone from the public has questions? I'll give you another second just in case there's anyone that's on mute that has questions.
I just want to say something. My name's David Wilson, and I'm live on South Washington Street, and I'm work part-time as a mechanic for UMM, and I work at their maintenance place in Foxborough as of right now, and there's no odor issues or anything like that there. And I also come from a background of environmental, so as far as, everything being contained, real well educated with that, and making sure everything is in the correct area as far as, when you do an oil change or any kind of maintenance, it's all contained and taken care of as far as that goes. And I don't have any issue with it being there. And as of right now, the trucks make a left-hand turn out of the parking lot that they're in because of the same issue, residential. So that's going to be no different in this case. So that's about it.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Anyone else from the public with questions or comments? All right, so at this point, I think we are okay to close the public hearing. So we can do that, and then we can discuss what you want to do for conditions and having a vote on, up or down vote on it.
Steve, this is Julie. I motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Julie.
This is Scott, I will second.
Thank you, Scott. Any further discussion from the board on this? Okay, on the motion to close public hearing for 186 South Washington, Orin?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. So public hearing is now closed. Now, I'll leave it up to the board. Would you like to discuss conditions, or would you like to take a vote pending conditions? I'm open for motions.
Well, just for discussion purposes, I did reference the conditions that were suggested in the letter from Green Seal Environmental, and I think those are helpful for us, and I'd like to try to incorporate those basically into any conditions that we have. The other condition that I'd like to expand on is the landscaping on the lot lines as it relates to the portion beyond the parking lot where it's gravel. I would like to see them increasing it to 20 feet. They've offered it to at least go up to 10 feet. And I open that up to the board, but I do think some increase above the 5 feet would be appropriate in light of the objectives of the site plan to minimize the foliage and to provide screening to butters. Yeah. The other open things that I thought we had left open that I don't know that we resolved and I don't know that we need to resolve is hours of operation and the number of trucks that would be on the facility. And I just raised that because I just have my notes that we had some discussion on it, and I don't know that we resolved anything, whether the board wants to condition.
Yeah, I know there was discussion on the limit of the number of trucks. It was on our tracking sheet here.
Yes, we can, I was just going to say, we can go through the tracking sheet if anybody would like to, since I think captured most of the comments from last week and kind of, went along tonight with the conversation. It could just say kind of what we have on outstanding, and anybody can speak up if they'd like to see it as a condition.
Okay, so I'm okay. Whatever the board would like to do, if we want to go through them, or if we want to.
I think the value to reflect on them.
I'm sorry, Scott. What did you say?
I said that I think it would be valuable to reflect on them. Take a look at it.
So, we can either motion to continue. Well, actually, we don't have to continue it. We can motion to approve pending conditions, which we can discuss and go through next meeting. Or, like I said, I'm open for motions here.
Mr. Chairman, are we, now that it's closed, do we still have any ability to comment?
No further comments on the public. Yeah, since the public hearing is closed.
Will we have an ability to at least review the conditions with the board?
Paul will likely go over them with you, but these are going to be conditions that we'll place on it. But yeah, any questions you can always go to Paul.
The main concern is the side yard. If we pick up 40 feet.
Yeah, we can't. We're not. The public hearing's been closed, so we can't continue to discuss it. But we've heard from both sides of this, and we'll take everything into consideration.
Thank you.
So, do we have a motion from the board here?
This is Tim. I would move that we approve the project with conditions to be set at a later date.
This is Scott. I will second.
Scott, I think you're going to be.
This is Scott. I will second.
Do you want to amend that to be for the next meeting? I'm looking for the date of that.
I think that question's for you.
Yeah, that's the intent. It'll be August 11th. Tim?
Understood.
Do you want to amend that motion then?
Sure, I'll amend the motion to reflect the August 11th date.
I'll continue.
Any further discussion? Okay. We're actually going to have to do this twice because we need the actually, hold on. We also need to do an approval for the 50-foot gravel waiver on the plan scale. So this will be just for the site plan, and then we'll do those as second and third votes. Okay, Orin.
I would just note, I will vote, but in answering, I just would note my continuing concern for this process of approving without conditions. But for the purpose of this vote, I'll say yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, so the site plan is approved. Now we need to vote on the 50-foot driveway waiver.
This is Tim. I would vote to approve the 50-foot driveway waiver.
Thank you, Tim.
This is Scott. I will second.
Thank you, Scott. Any further discussion on this point? Okay, roll call. Orin.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. And finally, we need a motion to approve the plan scale. I don't have the exact wording how we have to approve this.
This is Tim.
Okay. So if I can help, the waiver is from the requirement of the scale of the plan being 1 inch equals 20 feet to the standard they use, which is 1 inch equals 40.
This is Tim. I would make a motion that we waive the requirement for a 1 to 20 scale.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Scott, I will second.
Thank you, Scott. Any further discussion on that? Okay, Orin.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Tim.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. That's all we need for that, right? There's no other votes on this one, right?
Correct. It's just a site plan with those 2 waivers.
Okay.
Could I just ask, Paul, is it now pretty customary for these plans to come in at 1 inch equals 20 as opposed to the 1 inch equals 40?
The other way. Typically, we're seeing them at larger. 1 to 20 is a very narrow scale. I mean, I think down the road we need to be revising that to give flexibility. But 1 to 40 if it's 1 to 20, these plants really get blown up significantly, and the scale allows them to put it on paper that we can actually read versus 1 to 20, we'd be rolling up the giant. So it's 1 to 40 is what we typically see. But I would suggest down the road that we would just not make a standard of the scale, or give some flexibility that it can fall within a range.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Be there.
Okay, now we have the public hearing for SB 494. It's 0 rear 80th Street for a special permit for a common driveway, duplexes, and development of wetland protection districts. The applicant on.
This is Craig Siganowski, RIM Engineering, representing the applicant. Sherry Wydeck is also on. So a couple of weeks we came before you to get the 4 lots approved through the A&R process. And now we're back before you on the same piece of property for approval of these special permit to allow the access to those 4 lots through the common driveway outlined in the regulations. And the second portion that we're looking for a special permit is that 4 lots be allowed to be used or to be built as duplex units rather than single family homes. We meet the minimum area requirements for a duplex lot, which is 80,000 square feet of upland, each lot has in excess of 100,000 square feet of upland in the usable area that we're bringing this common driveway to. So your regulation states that a common driveway may be 500 feet in length unless the planning board approves a longer length and is shown to be safe for emergency vehicles. So we're showing you a driveway that extends to the last lot, which brings the length of the driveway to 1,282 feet. We have heard from the fire department, so their standard is a 20-foot wide right-of-way, a travel way, I should say. So we've increased our driveway. We had it at 18, but we increased it to 20 feet. And we have a turnaround at the end of the cul-de-sac that is equal to your minor road turnaround and meets the requirements of the fire trucks, a minimum radius of 45 feet. We now have a radius of 48 feet. So we believe that the extended length, 1,200 feet rather than the 500, does provide safe and access for emergency vehicles. Speaking to the fire department, they mentioned that, so if we had dropped the road back to 500 feet, we'd have 4 driveways, each individually being 700, the last one being 700 feet. The first one would be shorter, obviously. So then if there was a fire, they have to stack up in those narrow driveways, whereas bringing the full 20-foot road to the end of the lot, of the last lot that we're going to be working on, would allow the fire trucks to have access to each individual lot without having to be backed up in a driveway situation. So we feel that the extended length, which is no longer than many roads in town and only serving 4 lots, still provides safe access for all emergency vehicles. The fire trucks can make it there, the police cars can make it there, and so forth. So the second waiver from the common driveway regulations we would ask for is you require a 20-foot vegetative buffer between all the butters and the common driveway. So our common driveway runs parallel to the railroad. So the abutter would be a railroad track, which we're leaving a 30-foot buffer easement that is not to be cleared of any trees or undergrowth. So instead of a 20-foot wide easement, which would have screening that we'd have to plant, we're allowing 30-foot wide buffer with a densely populated area along the railroad track. The neighbors on the other side of the railroad track, the houses are not next to the track, so we would have several hundred feet of buffer zone between us and the nearest house. Coming the other way to our other neighbors to the southerly side of the property, we have Meadowbrook Pond between the lots and the neighboring properties, providing another couple of 100-foot natural buffer zone. The trees on the southerly side of the pond would stay as they are. We have no intention of doing anything on that side of the property. So we do meet the standard for the minimum lot size for duplex lots, and the client would like to pursue that angle. We do know that we have a conservation issue. We have the pond, we have a floodplain that's contained within the pond. The pond is controlled by a dam on the property. There's vegetated wetlands along the pond, so we do understand we have to file the conservation, and I know that they have asked for, the stormwater management, but what we're looking for now is if we have permission to move forward as duplex lots, it changes how we design the water management as opposed to single-family homes. And also the length of the driveway, which we intend to be a gravel driveway, not a paved driveway. So if we get permission to move forward from this standpoint, the length of road we're asking for and the duplex lots, then we would ask for a continuance in order to design the stormwater management that would be required because of the duplex lots.
Okay.
Also, point out that the existing entrance that we're utilizing has been in service for many years. It does come in and immediately make a sharp turn to the right. That's due to two things: the grading of the property, which drops off in both directions. First, towards the Meadowbrook Pond, and secondly, there's a natural gully between the Route 140, the state highway. When they built that highway, they included a bridge for the railroad. So the bridge, it's deceiving. If you're coming out of this driveway, if we move closer to the railroad bridge, you would not see a car coming over the bridge, the top of the road, until they were upon us. At this point, the driveway that exists is the safest place to place to keep the driveway. We have a 30-foot from the pavement line, minimum 30 feet of 1% to allow for a car to fully pull up, stop at the white line of the pavement, and look both ways for traffic. So we feel that's a safe way to enter the Route 140. And moving the road with the driveway entrance, the only place we could go is further north, and that brings us closer to the railroad, which has a very steep drop and would require quite a bit of fill to bring it up to grade. As far as the actual lots, whether we go single family or we go duplexes, there will be on-site septic, which we will have to do soil testing for at the time, and there will be individual wells to provide water to the houses. So we're not intending to bring a water main along the road. Obviously, electricity would be brought through underground utilities. I believe that covers the design.
Okay, does anyone on the board have questions on this?
Yeah. Anyone else does? I have some questions.
Go ahead, Ron.
Paul, the original filing was really just for a common driveway. Did they need to file again separately, or did they file additional paperwork to include the other two site special permits?
They did, because remember, they were originally scheduled 2 weeks ago, but we asked for that to be continued to tonight, and we re-noticed it at the owner's expense because it wasn't clear from the original application that they were referring to duplexes. So the notices that went out clearly said duplexes on it, as it does on our agenda too. So
we notified the abutters?
Yes. Yeah, we re-noticed the abutters as well.
In your note, one of the things I was confused about, you indicated that if it's single family, you didn't believe you needed to file for stormwater. And I asked you to point out what in section 133-5 corresponds to that.
Single family homes are exempt from stormwater management through state regulations.
But they're not exempt under our chapter 133-5, which only exempts, it says,
More passive uses.
only allows for, projects accessory to a single family dwelling limited to construction of a deck, patio, retaining wall, shed, or above ground swimming pool, tennis court, basketball court, repair and replacement of existing driveway expansions of less than 500 square feet. Those are the exemption have for.
Right. So I guess I misspoke. That's necessarily exempt so much as it reduces what we have to design for. When we go.
If I can just clarify, here's Ms. Carlino's letter that said the Norton Stormwater Management Bylaw is applicable.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we are aware. Yeah, I misspoke in saying that we wouldn't have to do we do have to do stormwater management regardless of which units we're building, but it would depend on, the type of drainage we'd be looking at would depend on what units we're building.
You mentioned septic and water, the electricity, and I don't know if it'd be gas. How is that coming to these the dwellings? Is it going through the common driveway or sorry?
Yep, the common driveway is 30 feet wide, and the use will be 20 feet wide, leaving a 10-foot area for utilities.
One of the question, the surface I think needed to be, the fire department required the apparatus, all-weather driving surface. Is the gravel thing you're providing constitute an all-weather driving surface sufficient for their load?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, going back to the meeting before us, the entire parking lot is gravel. Gravel's used for driveways. It would be designed for common gravel driveway regulations with a secure base, 12 inches of gravel. All the top and subsoil would have to be removed, obviously.
If you can, maybe Paul, you can confirm with the fire department that that's satisfactory to them, because they just referenced, they saw the plans and they referenced that they wanted an all-weather driving surface. And I don't know one or the other. Just have to confirm with them that they're comfortable with that.
And get them to confirm every issue that they brought up.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. The other thing was in our bylaws for the wetland protection district, it raises the question that the land is not subject to periodic or seasonal flooding. Do you know what the status of that is for that location?
Can you say that again, please?
One of the purposes of the Wetland Protection Act is to provide lands subject to periodic or seasonal flooding shall not be used for residents, so as to endanger the health and safety of residents.
Yeah, the 100-year floodplain, as shown on the state firm maps, is contained within the pond. So we're not constructing anything within an area subject to flooding.
And I guess one of the other things that I think we're gonna need is some documentation confirming and be responsible for what in terms of building and maintaining that road. I'm not sure if you looked into that already, provide something for us to confirm. And that's who's gonna be responsible for the snow removal. It's gonna be a common, it's gonna create an easement.
Right.
Confirming who's gonna do what and how.
Right. A covenant would need to be created between the four homeowners. It wouldn't be a public way, it'd be a driveway, so they would be responsible for the trash pickup, for the repair of the gravel driveway, for snow plowing and so forth.
Yeah, what I'm suggesting is one of the conditions we have is seeing documents demonstrating that that's the case. So perhaps you might take the opportunity to have something that, it'll be a restriction among the parties, but just so once you sell the property, someone's not going to come back to us and say, who's taking care of this and who's doing that, so we know what the parties are doing every time.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with questions? Okay. Anyone from the public on that has questions for this?
Okay. Can I ask, has the applicant applied to the Conservation Commission at this point at all?
I think he said he was going to, but, right?
Yeah,
Based
well,
on the duplexes?
Right. Originally, the reason for the need for the second meeting notice was because originally we were designing single-family homes. We had the conservation, we had a wetland company involved flagged up the wetlands, did all the reports, was ready to file with conservation, and then we decided to try for duplex lots and decided to put that on hold while we explored that. So we are in the process of, we have pretty much everything ready to go, depending on which way we go with the units. But we did not actually file anything with conservation, because if we had, we'd be having to go back for them for an amendment if things change from what we had filed with.
Do you envision, apparently there's a significant amount of issues that you're going to have to address with conservation. Is it more likely than not that these plans will have to undergo some changes as a result of your working with conservation?
When we placed the driveway exists, closest points to the wetlands is where the driveway already exists. We're not expanding that. It's an existing condition. We're outside the 25-foot minimum buffer zone that Norton requires. We are within the 100-foot buffer zone, obviously, so that is a reason for filing, as well as the stormwater. We're not proposing any construction other than the driveway within the 100-foot buffer zone, and not doing anything within the 25-foot. All of our design for the runoff from the road, from the driveway, is created to drain away from the wetlands. And of course, the stormwater management will answer those questions. So do I anticipate that we will have meetings for conservation, but I do not think that there is an issue as far as getting approval. I don't see this as a significant change to what's existing within their jurisdiction at this time.
Okay, any further questions from anyone on the board or in the public here? All right, so it looks like we need to hear back from the fire department to make sure that everything is, they're okay with all the changes. So, I mean, that being said, I don't know if we're okay to close the public hearing tonight.
The applicant had requested a continuance.
Yeah.
One other thing, we did get an advisory report from the Conservation Commission. I don't know the left open issues that they have to address. One of the provisions in the wetlands protection is that we do seek an advisory report from the Conservation and the Board of Health. And then I thought she said some things. I don't know if they have to respond to them, whether we're satisfied that those conditions that she's alluded to us that would still relate to us under the wetlands district are still open. And I'd just like to see them confirm whether she thinks her jurisdiction covers everything that we need to have covered under that. I don't know.
Yeah, Warren, I will, I did follow up with Jen on this, and I think they're just waiting for the application, the notice of intent to be filed. As I've read these, I don't view them as conditions as much as they are both pointing out that these fall under Concom's jurisdiction, and here are some of the things that they will want to see done as part of their permitting process.
Okay, well, without any questions, then we should continue this.
Would you be, well, am I allowed to still ask a question, or have you closed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we moving forward with the length of the driveway as shown and the use of the duplex units?
As it's one permit application, it's the public hearing has to remain open, so we're not going to be voting on that tonight. So that's something I think we need to figure out.
Right. Any comments from the board as far as yay or nay? Do they have any objections to what we're proposing?
We're not.
Tim, I won't.
Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
This is Tim. I won't speak for myself. Well, I will speak for myself, but I guess I generally feel that this board is not shy about voicing concerns if they have them. So if you haven't heard a no, then I would view that as keep going until, unless through all the testing and et cetera that you're doing, it becomes feasible.
And again,
From my standpoint on it, as far as the driveway, I mean, as long as the fire department signs off and they're comfortable with it, then that would be something I'm comfortable with. But again, I'm speaking for me, not the entire board.
understood.
So that being said, I mean, I think we have to figure out.
I mean, the applicant had requested a continuance based on work they needed to do.
Right, but my question is, from our perspective on the wetlands, I mean, they're looking to figure out if the duplexes are going to be approved by us or not in order to put together their plans. So that's something that we need to figure out. So yeah, I definitely think that we need to continue. So if anybody's up for a motion.
This is Julie. I motion to continue.
Thank you, Julie.
Oh, I should add in the date, right?
Oh yeah, to the 11th, was it? Is that right?
Yes, I'd like to motion to continue the public hearing to the August 11th.
Second, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren. Any further
Discussion, is that enough time for the applicant to do what they need to do?
Maybe we will try, and if we need to ask for continuance, we will right into the board.
Okay, Lauren?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Julie?
Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. B495 is continued to August 11th.
Steve, could I just ask if the applicant is preparing any revised plans that they, in some way, either on a separate sheet or by cloud, identify what's been changed, so we don't have to try and search out through the plans that's been changed. I know there's a couple of things that the fire department wanted, just so if you can highlight what those are, so we know what changes there are.
It's easier to see, yeah.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you call roll call? I'm sorry, I think I stopped.
No, it was after. I already did that roll call.
Okay.
So I think that's it for our agenda tonight.
Motion to close the meeting?
There you go.
This is Scott.
Oren and Scott, okay. Okay, we'll get on the line. Oren. Yes. Scott.
Yes.
No, Scott. All right, Julie.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Thank you all very much as always.